Okay, hello everyone. This is Vicki Verley, the Rock and Roll Prophetess, and today I'm coming at you to talk about the case of Amanda Berry and Gina DeJesus, and the third girl, Michelle Knight, which we don't know a lot about at this time, discovered after being kidnapped for like 9 and 10 years, respectively. You know, this case hits close to home to me because they're from Cleveland, my hometown. Junior high school, Wilbur Wright Junior High, where Gina DeJesus was abducted from. I went to that junior high, and I remember the first girl, Amanda Berry, when that happened. I mean, my daughters were around her age, and Amanda got abducted coming from her job at Burger King, and my girls were both working at Denny's at the time. So that was just like, oh, but through the grace of God, there go I. That one really hit, and plus it's being in the in my area. And where they found the girls is near where my family's bar was and everything. So this is all hitting really close to home for me. So what I did, I'm just wondering about the chart. I'm just wondering about the chart. So what I did was, I did 2 tri-wheels. Of course, we don't know the time of the birth of either of the girls. I don't. But I just looked at their day, did 12 noon chart. So that, I hope you can see this. These tri-wheels, I didn't really know how to change the coloring on it. It's kind of a little hard to see, but I'm going to look at a few things. So the inner wheel is the birth chart. The next ring is the abduction date, and then the outer ring is when they were found, yesterday, which was yesterday, May 6th. The time on yesterday was a little off, so the moon's going to be a little different, but it's kind of interesting. And I'm no forensic astrologer. I've never done this crime thing with astrology, and maybe we could even do it again and with others' input. That would be good. But I just I was waiting to hear the news conference, and my cable went out, and I got to do this video. I'm just like compelled to do it. I want to look at this. Okay, so the first one here is Amanda Berry, and here's what I see right off. This is her natal. Transiting Pluto was conjunct her Uranus at the time. Pluto-Uranus is prevalent. I looked at this a little ahead of time earlier. Pluto-Uranus is completely prevalent, and that's that square that's going on right now, and that's so, freedom and everything. But at the time of her abduction, transiting Pluto was conjunct her natal Uranus in Sagittarius. Some other things that were going on. Now, the moon was in Capricorn that day on her Mars. Her Mars is activated, too, and Mars is involved in this because look at... I think this is so cool. The day of she got out, transiting Pluto's conjunct her natal Mars. I mean, it doesn't quite line up right, but it's almost exact, 11 and 11. I mean, it's exact in degrees. So transiting Pluto conjuncts her natal Mars, and she busts out of there, She busts out of there. And it's at this at 11 degrees. This is the Pluto-Uranus square, and it's conjuncting her natal Mars over here. There's some other things, too. The Uranus, the moon was... Because the moon's a little off. I was a little off on the time when I initially ran this. I guessed it to be like 6:30 because it hit the news at 7. But we now know that the 911 call was made at 5:52. So we could, revise this later too. But so moon was even a little lower. Moon was probably right in there, right on Uranus. Moon conjunct Uranus at the time of the escape. Conjunct this Mercury, but Venus is involved. Isn't that weird that Venus is involved? And look at the day of the abduction up here at these planets. Well, we know it was a day before her birthday, and she was all excited. So she was having a solar return just about, and but it also went over her nodes. I thought that was a little kind of interesting there. It went over her nose. And Venus was conjunct Mercury the day of this. So this was like, she was happy for sure. This is like going to be a happy, fun day, and bam, this crazy thing happened that changes her life for 10 years, Another thing I want to mention, we just had that full moon eclipse at 5 degrees Scorpio, so I want to check that in the girls' charts too, because that's the other big lunar event that's happening now. So that eclipse hit her natal Pluto as a conjunction. And I don't know if she has anything else at 5. Yeah, she's got her Neptune at 5. So she used Neptune. See, this is a classic example of using Neptune for the positive. There must have been some kind of deception. How was she able to get free? She tricked him, or she probably tricked him or something like this to get free. And then, this Mars and Pluto energy just took over. And that's like the best possible. This is such a great, expression of Mars-Pluto. Okay, and What's interesting too with this Pluto conjunct Uranus, Saturn transiting Saturn was opposing that point too, and now on her freedom, Jupiter is approaching that point. Jupiter is hitting the these points here, this Uranus Pluto. It's in there. It's not quite to the Saturn yet, but this is interesting. Jupiter, liberation, freedom. Saturn, male, possibly karmic. I feel like, and the other thing is there's this mutual reception at the time of her abduction. We've got Venus conjuncting Mercury and transiting Mercury conjunct natal Venus. Also at this point, this 19, 20 degree points here, which is happening here, right around 20 degrees. So this was happy. I feel like she knew him too. I feel like she was in such a good mood. Look at all this happy energy up here, and that's what they said. She had her presents ready, or a dress or something. She was ready to have her birthday party. And look at these transits, fantastic. And then along comes Saturn and Pluto, and bam, your life has changed. The other thing, with this eclipse that hit her her natal Pluto, it was in with that. There's Saturn again. So Saturn's definitely in on this too, and the transiting nodes are kind of in on it too. They're at this point too of this 16 degrees, so it's in those higher teen degrees. So very interesting on her chart, and she was totally the one who broke out and did the whole thing. I mean, we could get a lot more deep into this, and I may be missing something. This is just going off the cuff, taking a quick look, and I'm going to move on to the next girl, who is Gina DeJesus. I did the same thing with her. Got a natal, we've got the abduction date, and we've got the freedom date. Look at this stellium she's got in Capricorn. And I'm pretty sure this guy's 52 years old. We don't know anything about his birthday. But so he was born in the early 60s, like 60 or 61. And there was this big thing happening in Capricorn at that time. There was Saturn, Jupiter. There was a lineup. A lot of people born in those early 60 and 61 have this big stellium in Capricorn, and she's got it as well. So this abductor, this guy Ariel Castro, he might have, he probably does have some kind of big stellium in Capricorn here. Now we know that she knew him. We know this. The family has said we're friends with the family. We've known each other for years, so she did know him. Like in her case, what the things that was standing out to me. Look at Neptune. In Uranus. Transiting Neptune is hitting Uranus of her abduction. I thought that high on the chart here. Well, we don't see this ascendant isn't right. We don't know the time or anything. And natally, that's hitting, natally, it's making a sextile to her natal Uranus. Does she have anything else at like 5 degrees here? Not really. That's interesting. But look at her chart too. Mars and Pluto are activated too. So we know nothing about her really so far. We know practically nothing about her, and what happened. There's been to this point. There's been no modern day pictures of her released. We just only know that she was in there. But Mars Pluto, she might have been putting up some fight here too. She may have been in on it or helping, fighting Mars Pluto. Trying to get free. Also, here's that Uranus thing. The transiting Sun was at that Mars-Pluto, where we're currently having the Mars-Pluto square up here. But I think she was in on a fight here. She put up a fight as well. The other thing I wanted to point out is, on the day of her abduction, this doesn't line up quite right, but here's the Neptune at 14 Aquarius, node at 16 Aquarius. So Neptune was conjunct the node on the day of her abduction. So Neptune, she was fooled. She was totally fooled by this guy. She didn't see it at all. She didn't get it. She may have been drugged too. With these Neptunes being involved, they may have been drugging these girls. That could be it too. But on the node, she definitely knew him. She knew him good. There was no reason for her to feel like she was in any danger getting in the car with this guy, or whatever he was driving, so that's pretty eerie, that this guy, that makes it even more Neptune, and a negative Neptune, eerie in a bad, not in a good way. Um, let's go around and take some looks at the more. Saturn was on her Jupiter. Look at that. Saturn and Jupiter and Chiron. So, you think of that as, something good, a blessing. I would think of it, but, Saturn came along and, it wasn't a blessing, obviously. It was a horrible, not an opposite of whatever the opposite of a blessing is. It was a horrible thing that happened. Let's see what else was happening here, transit-wise. Her nodes are involved at 16 here, and then her moon. These moons are probably not going to be right because we don't know the exact time on this. Oh, look at here. Node again on Pluto. So Pluto is so involved in both of the girls' charts. Mars and Pluto are involved. And in her chart even more, in Gina's chart, we've got this nodal involvement. And look at that. Wow, look at that. Node, the north node, the nodes are involved. I mean, big time. Here's the south node. Okay, day of the natal Pluto, 17 Scorpio. South node, the day of the abduction, 12 Scorpio. North node, the day of the escape, 16 Scorpio. And Saturn's in there. So, wow, this is so karmic. This is just so karmic. And the nodes being involved. But it's also fate. I can't help but feel it's fated that it was going to be okay. Especially since Jupiter was involved in the very first thing. So Saturn and Pluto, this awful karmic thing's about to happen to you, but you've got the blessing of Jupiter here. And the guardian, like the guardian angel, or the blessing of Jupiter, and that you're going to be okay, you're going to get through it. And Chiron, that so Chiron in her case, she'll have a healing. She'll be able to have a healing out of this. In Cancer. And so this is her family, and she's got a ton of family. She's got, well, they both do. But I think, this girl is going to go ahead and have a good, nice healing through the help and support of her close-knit, nurturing family here. So that's what's going to happen with her. So this, again, not a forensic astrologer. I just, it was hit so close to home on so many levels. I just wanted to take a look at it. Look, she was having a Venus return, too. Well, a Venus return to the point of the abduction date. MC doesn't disregard that because we don't know the exact times on this. But Venus, 29 Taurus, that's that losing your head point, too. This has got to be in his chart. This has got to be something in his chart. That 29 Taurus, I just commented on that. How that's when in the old days, you would get chopped your head off. But it means don't lose your head. Transiting Venus, conjunct Venus at the time of the abduction, at the time of her rescue here, of the freedom. And Mars on the node. So there's Mars again. Mars. She fought too. With this Mars stuff here, we're not knowing anything right now, but Mars, she fought too. Mars, Pluto, Mars. And she fought when she figured out over here when things went bad, she fought. She fought to get away from him, but she couldn't get away. But they're free now, and it's just such an awesome thing here. So that's, there's much more to uncover to this, I'm sure. I just wanted to go over it real quickly. If anybody has any thoughts and ideas, I would love to hear them, or get deeper into this, or look at the chart of this guy, when the abductor guy, when they release his birth data. That would be kind of interesting. But I'm just so happy. I had tears in my eyes. I was crying last night, and I'm about to cry now again when I heard that they found these girls, because like I said, especially the one, it was just like my daughter. It could have been my daughter. It could have. She worked at a restaurant. Both of them did, and I'm just so grateful that they're okay. Okay. This is the Rock and Roll Prophetess. Remember that you are love and beauty incarnate, and I'll talk to you soon.